My name is Allison Felis, and this is I'll Follow You, a podcast featuring light and lively conversations about film, music, and creative culture, coming to you from the People's Republic of Rogers Park on the far northeast side of Chicago. Today, I'm so excited to be in conversation with Myan Binder. Myan is a healer, clairvoyant, animal communicator, and spiritual teacher. She has studied painting at the University of Wisconsin and art direction at the Miami Ad School and has taught everything from preschool to ESL to adult refugees. Currently, she teaches classes on all things psychic, including energy awareness, how to turn your own abilities on, how to heal yourself through working with your own energy, how to use your psychic abilities in your everyday life, and how to communicate with other animals. She is also the creator of the campaign Clean Your Energy, which engages people in becoming more aware of their own energy and the energy around them. In our delightful chat today, we discuss why it's harder to feel safe when you get pulled out of what you know, how personal it is to create a grounding connection to the earth, the difference between knowing what safety is intellectually versus actually feeling and experiencing it, the magic of using your imagination, how not cleaning your energy can lead to stagnation and miscommunication, why cleaning your energy is more involved than just sitting quietly in meditation, and how the current increase in animal adoptions is giving us a chance to relearn that we're all animals too. And speaking of animals, throughout the conversation, we're actively joined by Myan's cat Galaxy, who you will probably hear purring into the microphone at several points. And now, my conversation with Myan Binder. So hello, Myan. Thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, and there's also a rumbling guests that people may or may not be able to hear, right? Next to your microphone.
There's a cat that may or may not be purring in and out of this conversation. We will see. She just laid her head down again, so on the speaker.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's just like people like seek that out, like on YouTube, right? That's like the ASMR where people want to hear like, the secret, little quiet sounds that are soothing. So this will be like secret ASMR for people.
Ooh, I love that. She likes it too. She's
like, she's like, you better pay me for this.
I'm like, well, I do feed you and, but yeah, clean the litter box and all of that. I feel like we have a good exchange going on here.
Yeah, that seems like an equal output and equal input of effort between the two of you. Yeah.
But I think she's being very specific today. I mean, she literally just came up and laid down on the speaker of the computer when we got on. Yeah. So.
Well, I will absorb the healing vibes as well as we're talking.
Okay.
Well, so before we kick into any broader discussion, do you want to just sort of like say who you are and what you do and all the wonderful things that you do in the world?
Sure. My name is Myan, and I live in Miami Beach, Florida, and I used to live in Chicago, and I'm very happy to be here right now because the weather is phenomenal for me. Other people like different kinds of weather, but I'm really into the weather here. And I am a psychic and a healer, and I do energy readings and healings, and I also work with animals. I do animal communication and pet healings, and I also teach classes on how to be more aware of your own energy and how to clean your energy. So that's just a little snippet about me.
Amazing. Well, the thing that when I was sort of dreaming up questions that I wanted to ask you on the podcast today, the big one that came to mind instantly is that, like, I feel like it's kind of a truism, with healers and energy sensitive people to say like, oh, my healing process has been a journey. But I think with you, that's like even more true than most, because like I just think of you as this like world citizen So I would love to just hear you talk a little bit about place in your understanding of energy and in the way that your energy sort of interacts with your surroundings, because you've lived in so many different places and have such a different experience of the earth thanks to those travels, and I'm just always fascinated by those experiences. If you wanted to just give a little chat about that.
Sure. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I've actually been writing a little bit about this recently. Um, I haven't really traveled that much recently, but I traveled a lot when I was in my 20s. Um, and I was thinking about, like the first time I traveled by myself. I think I was like, I was 20, I was about to turn 21. And I went to Israel and Egypt and Turkey. And I was thinking about how, incredibly unsafe I was at that time in my life in terms of, what I was looking for, right? Like I wasn't really aware of energy at that time, at least not consciously. And I was just, I really wasn't considering how to keep myself safe or how to be safe, or even that I wanted, that safety was like an aspect of my journeys that I wanted to have. I really just wanted to have adventures, no matter, like, at whatever cost, and I got myself into some really tricky situations because of that. It was fun. I have some good stories. Um, and I think when you go somewhere that is so different than where you come from, you start to notice that there's a different concept of safety where you go, and there's a different energies where you go, right? Every culture has a different energy, and every place has different rules that create different energies and a different sort of feeling. And so having that perspective and then coming back to the United States was always a really wild experience too, because, what you grew up in is what makes you feel safe, or at least, even if it doesn't feel safe, there is a safety in knowing what it is or how things work, right? I think we all sort of feel that way. And then when we step out of our own idea of how things work, it feels a little unstable until we kind of clue into how that works. So when I went to one of the other big trips I took was to India, and I remember being there, and just everything was so completely different. Everything, it was sort of, there was a lot of like chaos, a lot of beauty, a lot of colors, and a lot of poverty, there's just all these different things. And like kind of coming, when you're in a new place, it sometimes feels like it's just coming at you all at once. And it can feel sort of overwhelming, and yet you kind of get used to it after a while, and you think that's normal, or that is what's normal. And then I remember coming back to the United States and and feeling like, what is this place? Even more so than that trip that I had taken, that first trip I had taken. I remember standing on, is it the Blue Line in the L train when you're kind of in between the highway?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was in Chicago, and I was standing there, and I remember looking at the highway and noticing how fast the cars were going, and it was so fast. It just seemed crazy how fast they were going. And before I had gone to India, I didn't think that was fast. That just was normal. And all of a sudden, it was like the fastest thing I'd ever seen. It seemed impossible, and it also was terrifying. Like my body and my nervous system couldn't handle it. And things were sort of chaotic in India in a different way, and fast, and like moving, and especially in the big larger cities. But this was something completely different. And I remember going to the supermarkets in the United States and just feeling overwhelmed. Like, why are there so many shelves? Why are they so high? Why are there so many products? Why, like, of the same thing by different companies? It just was so overwhelming. Also to my nervous system, so something that had seemed so normal and that I was used to, that seemed really safe, all of a sudden I'd spent so much time away. I think I'd been gone for like 10 months, that all of a sudden that didn't feel safe anymore. And so I think a lot of, I mean, and anybody who's traveled a lot would probably say this, that, you know, it's not always easy to like come back home, right? And get a
Totally.
sense of grounding, and Earth seems different where you're from than it does somewhere else, even if it's the same planet, you know, because it's been built up by humans in different ways. And there's different things that you have to be aware of that you wouldn't have to be aware of where you come from.
So as you like began developing, you know, your psychic capacities and your healing work, was there any resonance like as you like learned how to ground like into the earth when you like was there a way that you then reflected on those experiences like in a different way? Like were those recontextualized for you like after you learned how to like put a grounding cord into the earth?
I think what changed for me was that, and I think this is a big thing actually right now when we're going, because right now we're going through this pandemic, right? That's what's happening in the world right now for humans. That no one has, everything that made everyone feel safe actually isn't really what makes them feel safe, you know? It's what they think makes them feel safe. It's what they're comfortable with. It's what they know. But like pulling yourself out of what you know, then all of a sudden you don't know what makes you feel safe anymore. And so there's been a lot of fear, right? And I think um, knowing how to connect to the earth, knowing how to have a relationship with the earth, in a way, when you can energetically connect with the earth, you can feel safe wherever you are. It's not about where you are, it's about what's going on inside of you. And I think that's what changed for me, you know? It's because there is saying that, you know, wherever you are, there you are. Right? Like you kind of can't get away from yourself. Although I think a lot of human beings try to get away from themselves all the time by doing a lot of things. And I think we're in a situation right now where we can't do that. So we can't get away from ourselves, right? If you're like trapped in your home or whatever, or like not trapped, but sort of having to be home a lot and be more isolated. You can't rely on those things that you used to do to keep you away from yourself. But I think that there is, you know, maybe I'm not answering your question, but I think there's this thing that's happening right now where we're having to learn how to actually, or we're having the opportunity to learn how to actually connect with the planet we're living on. And the fact that we're not connected to the planet we're living on is pretty wild because we're living on it. Like, you know, it would be, if we were not connected to Mars, like that would seem more normal than, you know, but people want to go to Mars more than they want to be here sometimes. So I think that's what changed for me. It's not about where you are that makes you safe. It's about how you're connected to the earth and to yourself. And you can do that anywhere, you know? You can connect your energy to the energy of the earth on the train, in a plane. You know, you can be in nature, you can be in your home, you can do it anywhere. And that can create safety for you, like in the snap of a finger.
Well, I'm so glad that that's where you sort of took my question, because that was going to be another thing that I really was interested to hear your perspective on, because like people are in their homes during shelter in place and during the lockdown and, trying to do social distancing. And I feel like it is changing the way that we're thinking about ourselves in space and time. And was just, wanted to hear more of what your perspective was on, any unique opportunities that there might be to have that sense of grounding. And then, like you were saying, what the challenges are for people, who might be used to sort of, they wouldn't think of it as grounding in their routine or whatever, but when they're knocked out of their routine, how that's a challenge to feel grounded.
Right. Well, and it's the same thing when you're knocked out of your culture, right, and into another culture, or you knock yourself out of your culture and into another culture. Yeah, then it feels it's actually the same thing, that idea of, now I don't have the thing that I usually ground you to make me safe. So what do I do? And and I think that there's, I think now we have the opportunity to really go within in a certain way and separate out from all the things that we've been, grounding to, and say, and find safety in a way that's very personal. And I think when you ground to the earth, it's a very personal thing, right? Like it's your own connection with the earth. It's different than, your connection with your family or a friend or whatever. There is a relationship there that you get to create. It doesn't, you ask this question of, well, being in different places on the planet and different countries, and how is that different? How does that change your perspective on grounding? And and there is this idea that we ground to certain things. We ground to our culture, we ground to our language, we ground to what we know, to our jobs and things like that. And that we can't do that as much right now. So what makes us safe? And I think that's, you'd ask, well, what do people do right now in their homes? And, this is a perfect opportunity to really create a relationship with the planet you live on. If you have nothing else to do, right? It's a perfect opportunity to start, forming a relationship in a new way. And I think that would change everything for everybody here. If we all kind of had this sense of safety, the earth gives us a sense of safety. I think humans think of the earth as being the scary place, which is why we've created all of these walls and structures that could make us more safe, but they actually don't make us safe at all. And I'm living in a place now that, I live in Miami. We have a threat of hurricanes every year, and sometimes they actually come through. And it's, being from Chicago, where the only natural disaster is winter, a hurricane for me was like a really scary thing. And it still is. I still don't really like it very much. Like whenever it's coming up to that time of year, I'm like, but it also it really taught me about the fact that nothing is permanent, really. And you really can't rely on things or even people to make you feel safe. You kind of have to find that within yourself.
And so for people for whom that might be like a new concept, like how does one go about establishing that relationship with the earth? I mean, we know it sort of in psychic terms, but are there, as you sort of like teach this stuff, I mean, because this is what you teach a lot, like how would you recommend that people, not to give away your secret sauce, but is there like, a way for people to start fostering that for themselves if they really are feeling stirred up and unsafe right now?
Yeah, I think you can get quiet, close your eyes, and imagine just a connection, a line of energy. Use your imagination to imagine that you're connecting to the earth. And just that is a great start. It's, and maybe that seems like abstract, but really when you do it, you can feel it. You can feel yourself like creating this cord into the earth. And it's amazing what happens to your body when you do that, because your body just kind of goes, oh, hey, I know you, like, that feels kind of good. Or it's just, the earth the energy of the earth is there to support us. So when we connect to it, it creates such a beautiful feeling in the body, that the body knows that feeling, but it doesn't get to have it that much. I think a lot of times and I do this too. It's sometimes I need to walk in grass or on the ground, or like be in nature, or get into the sand, go to the beach, to have that sense. But we don't have to go there to have that sense of things. You can really do that wherever you are, like I said already. And so, yeah, it's sort of using your imagination to create that. But
Which
who's
can seem like such an oxymoron, I think, to people who are unfamiliar with energy work. It's kind of like, well, you're telling me to get grounded into reality, but then now you're telling me to use my imagination. And it can seem like a dichotomy, but it's really not. Like the experience of it is definitely not.
No, I mean, whatever, what you're thinking and what you're seeing is creating your reality all the time. If you wake up and you think, oh, I'm just going to have a really crap day, like go for it. You know what I mean? Right? Or if you wake up and you imagine like this really phenomenal day for yourself, I think the possibility of that is higher than if you imagine a really crappy day for yourself. And I think, we use our imaginations all the time. We're just not aware of it. And when we're children, we do, and we're more aware of it. But as adults, it's like we're supposed to put that aside or like pretend it's not there, but you could close your eyes and imagine like your favorite place in the world, and you'll probably feel how you felt when you were there. And that's just the magic of seeing energy. That's just the magic of using your imagination. And I think, like going back to children, like children have that sense very strongly inside of them. They love to imagine because it's like it's giving their body a feeling and an adventure. Or a relationship with something. I had a friend growing up, and her brother was like 10 years younger than us. So he was really, really little. And I remember being in the car with him once, and it was like a 2.5 hour ride. And the whole time he was talking about his friend Joey, who was this guy who lived in California and had dogs and this big house. And well, anyway, Joey was like his imaginary friend, right? But he had an extensive story about Joey that went on for like hours, and um and that was very real to him, and it was really fun for him to talk about his friend and all of their adventures together. And why is that not real? That was real for him, and it gave him a feeling and a sense of joy and safety. And you can do that for yourself. You imagine what you want, you imagine the job you want or the vacation you want to go on, and then you start to manifest it. And if you can imagine that connection that you have with the earth, you can start to manifest that connection that you have with the earth and make it real.
Well, and I love that you said that it's so personal, that it's unique to you, because I think that a lot of times there's sort of a notion that there's one way to ground, that there's one way to communicate with the earth, or there's one way to, if you're, maybe this is just my damage, that I think like, oh, I must learn a specific technique that someone has given me in order to have a communication with the earth. And yeah, and the more that I've practiced that, and the more that I tap into that, yeah, the more that I realize how true that is, that it really is my unique relationship with the earth. And like, what's more special than that? Like, what makes you feel better than like knowing that you have this personal relationship with the planet? I mean, that's so amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there is that idea of how it makes you feel too, going back to that. We're trying to, I think when you don't feel good, when you don't feel safe, you might want to shift the way you feel. And if a lot of times, like when you're not, having to be in your home all the time, you would do different things to try to make yourself feel different, right? But now we have this opportunity to make ourselves feel different in new ways. And using energy to do that is kind of an amazing, magical way to really make yourself feel safe.
Well, and that's something that I was really interested in hearing you talk more about too, because like your handle on Instagram is clean your energy, and that's really a thing that you're really big on, and is such a cornerstone of your work right now. And yeah, so I would love to just hear you talk about how that became such a cornerstone of the way that you're presenting, all the information and all the knowledge that you have, and how is that the thing that you sort of locked in on to sort of give people a way into this energetic work that you do?
Yeah. Well, we kind of come through a line of like being psychic, right? So, and I think that word sometimes turns certain people on, it turns certain people off. We have a lot of pictures around what that means. But really being psychic is just being aware of energy. So I like the idea of, there's all these things you can do with energy. You've got your intuition, you've got your clairvoyant, you can see energy, you can feel energy, and you can use your abilities to navigate your life, and you can also use your abilities to help others and all of that. But there's these sort of basic foundational concepts that go along with that, and really it is kind of about it's really about cleaning your energy. We take showers or baths every day, typically. We clean our house, we clean our toilets, we even people clean their dogs. um and there's all these ways that we're cleaning things all the time, right? If we went outside and we rolled around the dirt, there's nothing wrong with dirt. It's great, but then we would probably eventually want to clean it off because you don't want like the dirt to just pile and pile and pile and pile on top. But we don't, for some reason, tend to clean our energy. But we are constantly engaging with each other, and I live in a city, so it's there's busyness happening. If I go to the supermarket, there's all these different people and energies, and they're all feeling certain ways, and different things are going on in their lives, and different things are going on in my life. And when you're around others, you're sort of sometimes picking up on what's happening around you. You're picking up on that energy, or you're going to work, you're coming home, you have all these things on your plate, and yet you don't clean your energy at the end of the day or sometime during the day. And I think that creates a lot of stagnation. I think it creates a lot of miscommunications. I think it creates a lot of dis-ease inside of ourselves because we're not being conscious of the energy we're putting inside of us and the energy we're putting outside of us. The thing that you can't see, but it's clearly there, because you could walk into a room feeling amazing, and then you walk into the room and you're there for 5 minutes and you don't feel good anymore. Why is that? Because the energy is different and it changes the way you feel, right? So I think it's important I think you called it hygiene. Is that what you call it? Energy hygiene?
Yeah, energetic hygiene. Sure, yeah.
Where like I've had a lot of people calling me during this time being like, I need a healing, because I some people are home with their kids all day and it's like overwhelming, it's a lot to be in that situation. So I just need a little healing to kind of release everything that's just been building over being a parent and being, having my own fears and having, what my kids are going on and all their energy around me all the time, right? To just sort of separate out from things and get back to yourself and get back into alignment with yourself so you can be clear with yourself and come from a space where your energy is what is, and your personality and who you are is what is creating how you're feeling and your life rather than everything else around you.
So are people starting to like get that? I mean, it sounds like if people are calling you saying like, yo, I need a healing, like it sounds like people are sort of aware that that's a thing, or is that something that's still surprising to people? Like as you talk to people about what it is that you do and how you do that.
I do think it's becoming I think people are becoming a little bit more aware, or sort of catching up. I've noticed lately, like people are clearing much faster, which is really interesting. Or they're really getting to like big things in their life, like things that that they really maybe been working towards but couldn't really get to. Like bigger things are coming to the surface right now. At least that I've noticed. Someone else might notice something different, but just in my own practice. But wait, what was your question?
Oh, just no, just like if people are starting to get the concept of cleaning their energy, if that's like, seems like a light bulb is coming on for people as they're introduced to that as a concept.
I think some people are and some people still aren't. It just depends on the person. I think a lot of times when I say, you have to clean your energy, people think of it in terms of like just, oh, I should sit and meditate. But that's not just it, because you can sit and meditate and you can clear things out. But I think there's an awareness around so many, you know, some basic things that that I that I put into this concept of clean your energy, you know, like how your own personal space can be affected, um, but and how kind of how to sort of protect your energy, and not as a means of like keeping everything out, but just being able to again, um, like if you want to be in a conversation with somebody and it's triggering you, how do you stand there and not like get just completely triggered by something? And if you do get triggered, how do you clear it out instead of just being stuck in it and going over that conversation over and over again? Like those are all things that I think are a part of cleaning your energy or keeping your energy clean. And again, it's not like being perfect or keeping yourself perfect at all. So I think sometimes people don't completely understand the concept of it. But I think more and more people are. It just depends.
Well, because I think it's so interesting that, you know, there is so much more awareness, like you said, of meditation, and people are like, oh, I should just meditate. And that's great. But I think there's also a way that it's been really like weaponized by like corporate culture where it's just like, oh, meditate so that you can be like a better worker. So I'm just like, is there any of that like damage like coming in for people? Like when they find your work, are they bringing in that sort of, that corporatized sense of like, oh yes, I'll meditate so that then like I can get back to work and be more productive?
I don't know that I've hit that. I have hit people like coming in just being like, if you just give me one healing, then I'll be like, everything will be great for the rest of my life, you know? And I'm like, no, this doesn't really work that way. Cause you know, you get, again, like you pick stuff up and different things are happening. So that quick fix, sometimes people just want that quick fix. And I just, you know, in my own personal journey, I have never found a quick fix. You know, like it's been a journey, and 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 I think that journey's been really important as well, and I wouldn't want it to be any other way. It's what makes things exciting too, you know, and that there's diversity, and in my life, you know. But I think that I think you're right. There are these concepts, or there's a lot of people that are learning how to work with energy, or sort of, or they're like learning how to give a healing. You know, they're taking a course on that, but they don't actually learn how to make their own energy safe. So and how to clean their energy so that they're like, oh, I'm a healer now. But then if you don't know how to clean your energy and you're just picking up on a bunch of stuff that other people are feeling that are your clients or whatever, that, and you're not clearing it out and you're not protecting yourself, how are you going to function in your own life? It's gonna, so I think that going back to that idea of like grounding to the earth and creating safety for yourself, you know, I think that's a big part of that's a big part of this concept of cleaning your energy. And I think also something I've noticed a lot is people don't actually want to really be here. You know, like they do, but they don't. They'd rather be like out there. You know, they'd rather be like, there's sort of this meditation where you go up and out in a way. And that's great because that has its own place, but then they don't actually come in. I think there's so many different things happening in the world that just make you go out or make you do something so fast and it's like so spiritually fast that your body can't catch up.
Right.
And that can destroy. I've seen it happen where like people just get wrecked, like their whole life just falls apart. And maybe that's just what's supposed to happen, you know? But I think there's a way that we can be in awareness and clean. And also this idea of, I think cleaning your energy is also being responsible for your own energy. You know, I think humans are, have spent a lot of time not being responsible for their own energy and kind of putting the blame on others, or just kind of going, well, my life just never works, you know, but they're not actually really taking charge and being responsible. And I understand that traumas happen and things happen, but at some point, you know, you kind of got to get to this place where you're like, okay, I'm just going to clean up my own energy because no one else is going to do it for me. I've got to be in charge of myself and my own healing journey.
Yeah, it's like the two-pronged. It's like, yeah, it's like change the system that caused the damage, but then also attend to your own personal how you've been affected. It's both and it's not one or the other.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I hope it did.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Yeah, and the other thing that I always think of you as your signature thing is your work with animals. And so I think that yeah, I mean, we've seen all these stories, online of people who are in droves adopting animals to have with them while they're sheltering in place. And yeah, I just love to hear your perspective on how, yeah, what you think of all that, and in your work with animals, what might be people looking to get out of these dynamics where they're suddenly like, oh yeah, I need a little puppy here with me, or need a little kitty here in my house.
Well, I think what's our humans are animals, right? But our relationship to other animals has been really tricky over the centuries, because we've sort of at some point humans were like, well, we're not animals anymore. We're like smarter and better than, and there this sort of shift happened on the planet, and I think that we've had in general, I'm not everybody, but I think there's been kind of a very abusive relationship with animals over time, and this almost like ignoring them, like they're not worthy or have worth, um, and that's actually not true. We're all like, it's like we're all in this together, not just humans, but like all living things on the planet. Um, Even if we're having different experiences, we're all living here together. And I think there's something really also there's this idea that we've decided like which animals we like should live inside and are worthy of us, which tend to be like cats, dogs. Those seem to be the main ones. And then also in different cultures have different relationships to animals. Here in the United States, like people dress up their dogs, and that someone in, I don't know, like Egypt or something, I'd say majority of people there probably would think that was sort of crazy. So, but I think the thing that's really beautiful that's happening right now, where like all these animals are getting adopted, is that, people are like, oh, wow, a companionship would be nice, and maybe animals have value, and maybe an animal could have a value in my life and bring something really amazing and be helpful and supportive, and because I know that my pets are very supportive of me as I am of them. Like I've got my cat sitting here potentially purring into the speaker, so she's just helping out with the recording itself, but she's also participating in this. Her energy is participating. She's into this conversation and participating in it, and I have another cat that, I have way too many cats. I'm definitely become a cat lady, but, I have another cat who he's like huge, he's just like a massive cat. He's a little overweight, but like he just has this like very solid body, and he'll come up to me, and if I'm laying down, he'll just like lie on my chest for 3 minutes. And there's something about the weight of his body and just his healing, because he's just such a healer, his healing energy. It's just what I need in that moment. And then he gets up and leaves. It's like he just knows, right? So then I think that there's a value that's being understood that maybe wasn't understood before. And I find that to be really beautiful and amazing. And I have a little story about that. There was a cat that was coming to me for months and months and months and months, and I was feeding him. He would come every night, and all he wanted to do was live inside. He just wanted a person, and he would beg me to let him inside, and I couldn't let him inside because he has I took him to the vet, and he had a virus that like my cats could get. So I was like, you can't come inside. And also I have I just really can't bring any more cats in here. And so anyway, his name's Jacques. He's French. And
Jacques, I love Jacques already.
And he's beautiful, like beautiful eyes, beautiful coloring, And I was asking around, like, if someone could take him, and I just couldn't find him a home. And it was hard for me because he just so badly wanted to. I've never seen a cat that lived outside that so badly was like so adamant about wanting to live inside and wanting a person. And I think it was like a month ago, maybe it's even been over that. One of this woman I know who's a client, and she's also now kind of a friend. She said, I have somebody that will take him. And it's this woman who was living in an apartment, and her roommate moved out, and she's just all alone. And she's like, I'll take an animal, and she'd heard about him before because this friend of mine had mentioned the cat. And so he got a home, and he is like in bliss, but she is too, because it's just such a beautiful story, because she's learning so much about having him around, about relationships and safety and all these different things that, like, I think that you get to learn when you have an animal around you, that you get to learn how much of an animal you are. And that even though we're pretending we're safe all the time, and we're pretending we're fine all the time, and we're creating all these things that, like, quote unquote, create safety and purpose for ourselves, at the end of the day, those things, that's not necessarily really, in a way, a lot of times we really actually don't feel safe, and we don't know our purpose, and we don't have a sense of connection with others that's really true and authentic. And in my experience working with animals and taking animals in from outside, that I think that was a big one for me. I've learned so much about all of those things. And they've really taught me about my animal self and how I react to fear. And, sometimes I'm like a feral cat, I'm like, like this. When something scares me, I just like lash out. Then I'm like, okay, man, get yourself together. But I think people are doing that all the time. And so having an animal in your home and bringing them in is really another way to connect to the earth, kind of bringing it back to how we began.
I was just going to say that. I mean, it seems like everything that you've been describing is just like another way of describing earth energy, and another way of sort of, like you said, connecting with our animal selves, which seems like a subset of earth energy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think there's something really beautiful happening right now. And I don't know how much I don't know how much the effects are going to be seen yet. I don't know, but my hope is that, it will shift. We'll just continue to help shift things, and this is, like I said, we all live on this planet together, and we're all worthy of being here, and we are all worthy of safety and health and all of those things. And humans have this ability to, like, create a way to make it easier to live on the planet in some ways. I don't know if it makes it safer, but definitely we've created some things that make it easier, and things that help our bodies, and so why aren't we sharing that with the other animals on the planet that want it, or why aren't we participating? We have so much information, and we have so much to give, and I think, we've been pretty selfish. But I think there's this opportunity to open up in a new way.
And I'm just falling out of my chair laughing because, like, the purring is so loud, and it's such a part of the conversation. It's like perfectly illustrating like everything you've just been saying.
She's like, yes, I validate everything you're saying.
Well, and like, not to like get you to tell like more cute stories about your animals, but it's like, I love cute stories about your animals, because it's like the way that you do literally communicate with them is just like, it's just one of my favorite things that you talk about. So it's like, is there, what have you been learning from them? I mean, in your own home, from your own babies there, during this lockdown time?
It's funny. I mean, there's nothing, I don't think I'm going to say anything very profound right now, but I think that one thing is that, it's really, really easy to see when I'm having a day where I'm just like, I'm so tired of myself and this whole thing, like that they are really challenging to be around, because they're also kind of having that experience with me. they're
Mm.
experiencing my energy, you know, and,
Right.
and, and days when I'm just like, everything's going where I'm feeling really good. They're so chill and they all want to be around me, you know? And, I think it's funny because you know, I think people have put up things online that have said like, oh, my dog's like, yay, you're home. You can take me for walks all the time. And the cats are like, oh my God, leave. But I actually think that they're, you know, on most days, they're kind of into me being here and being around me, and that's sort of validating. It's like, oh, you guys like me, you know, even if I'm like, don't, you know, I think sometimes I think, wow, you know, so I have I have 3 cats that have been with me for many, many years, and I think, wow, I can't believe you guys have stuck it out this whole time, like through all the different crazy phases I've been through in my life, and all the things that I've sort of put you through because I was putting myself through certain things, you know, and you're still here with me. Thanks so much, you know. I have a lot of appreciation for them, and I think we're actually in a time that's sort of calm in a way, even if there's all this chaos outside, because we can clean our energy and create calmness within that. And so I don't know, if they're teaching that to me, but I'm having a lot of gratitude for them during this time. I mean, I'm grateful for them in general, but I think I'm getting to sit with my gratitude a lot more.
Mm. No, it's a nice way of saying that. Yeah, we've you know, we've got our one 16, 17-year-old calico girl, Rosie, and she's definitely been exploiting us being home and getting food. The food factor has been huge. Like, 'cause she gets like a fresh can like every 2 hours, and we just roll over for her. It's like she's definitely. It's like rats hitting the lever for pellets, but like in reverse, where we're like she's trained us, you know.
What I think what's really funny is like I can imagine like whenever things start opening up a little bit more that you just like you could just roll her out the door. She'll be so wide and happy and
She has put on a little weight. Like she did a vet visit a couple weeks ago, just like her regular yearly wellness checkup, and they were like, yeah, she's up by about 1.5 pounds, and we were like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, I think her next vet visit's going to be a little extra. Extra. But it's fun,
Extra,
right? She's fun to have
extra
around.
love.
Yes.
Yeah, and like yeah, we're just she's a delight, and so yeah, we're a little happy unit these days.
It's amazing. I love that. I love that. And I think animals are can be, you know, depending on your relationship, can be very healing to be around, or very, you know, I mean, like I said, they kind of remind you of the earth, you know.
Oh,
There's just this,
completely, yeah.
yeah. So, and I would love it if humans recognize more and more that they're animals, you know, that that's a wish of mine, you know. I think, you know, you kind of asked me, like, why have you focused on this idea of like cleaning your energy? And I used to say, and I think part of it started because I remember growing up and I don't think my parents didn't clean their energy, you know,
Right.
they didn't know how, and they didn't teach us how to either. You know, I had to kind of learn that as an adult. But I would I think we're getting better about that in the world. I think there's a lot to catch up on, but with that, um, but if we can kind of clean our energy, then it changes. It's going to be better for us. It's going to be better for our pets. It's going to be better for our kids. It's better for our world. It's better for the structures we create. You know, it's and and creating more awareness is helpful, because I think, you know, when people start becoming more aware, it's not easy, right? When you start becoming more aware of your own energy, it's like sometimes you start seeing the things that you didn't want to look at, you know, and it's not that they're bad things, it's just that they're not comfortable maybe. And then you get through that and it feels so much better. But just that little, you know, stepping in is a little scary, and then you start getting into it and you start realizing, oh, this awareness, like kind of being able to clean my energy and become more aware of what's going on around me and what's going on inside of me is actually helping and healing and helping to make my world a better place to live in, and then the world a better place to live in, you know, a more healthy place to live in, or a safer place to live in.
Well, and I think, you know, this is not my own insight, but I think that that's sort of analogous to what's happening in the country right now with the lockdown situation, is that I think that there is an awareness of the energy of our culture and the energy of our society that we're living in, that people are waking up to because of sort of like the lack of external distractions while people are locked down. So I think that there might be, I mean, I'm hopeful that there's a way that this is a similar time of reckoning where it might be uncomfortable, but that hopefully people will come out of it with a greater awareness of like, yeah, how to have some energetic boundaries and how to, clean up your own messes, you know, for the sake of interacting within the next time that you're in like close interaction with someone else, you know?
Definitely. I think it's really kind of a great metaphor, isn't it? Or like, it's a great reflection.
Right. As above, so below, as they say.
Exactly. And I think I'll take any little opportunity to have more of that. I think this is a great time to go, okay, we're in a transition. Like, transitions are, you know, I don't know anybody that's like, yay, I'm going through a transition, you know, but typically that's people will come see me who are going through a transition. Like, that's usually when they come. And, because it is that is a tricky space, you know, it's like when you're kind of like, your grounding isn't the same, your connection isn't the same. You're feeling you're moving into like maybe a new vibration or a new way of being. So it feels a little uncomfortable and a little unstable, right? This is the perfect time to start learning how to clean your energy, I think, you know, or how to be aware of energy, or how to take care of your own energy. This is a time, because we're in a big transition right now on the planet Earth. Humans are, and you know, I think we're not going back to how things were. We're just moving forward, because that's how the planet is. It's constantly moving forward. So, and we're living here. So those are that's some of the rules on the planet, is you could pretend like you're not moving forward, but you are. So this is this amazing opportunity to really learn how can you be safe? How can you feel safe while you're in a transition? How can you feel safe while you're changing and while everything around you is changing? You know, how can you clean things up? How can you clean up your energy and be in more awareness, so that you can have a little bit more grace in that transition?
Well, and what a gift that you're able to sort of witness people in those transition spaces. I mean, that's such a vulnerable place to be, and the fact that people trust you with that. I mean, that's really, you know, speaks to your sense of groundedness and the safety that you create in the work that you do.
Yeah, you're right. It is really amazing. It's a gift to have that someone come in and have some level of trust to be able to say, like, I maybe like on some level, I have a sense that you're safe enough to allow you to help me move through this, you know? Yeah, that's a gift. And by the way, we've just been joined by another cat.
We're gonna get a purr duet.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Got to get this in stereo for the full effect in your headphones.
If only I could communicate that, and she'd be like, "Yeah, totally, I'll get in on the other speaker." But no, I don't think it's a cat.
They're not, you know, they communicate, but they don't always listen.
Yeah, or they listen, but they don't always do what you want them to. Yeah,
exactly. Well, and so this may be sort of like a, I don't know, kind of grand question, but like, what are you most proud of bringing forward? I mean, because you're so active. I mean, I've seen you popping up on Instagram Live, and you're obviously here on this podcast with me, and you're very active, you know, on your social media channels. And yeah, I mean, is that a weird question to answer, or do you feel like there's something that you would point to as like the thing that you're really psyched about being able to share with the world?
I mean, I think I just kind of said a lot of the things that I'm really excited to share about with the world. So that's one thing, or those are many things. Right now, I think right now I've been, yeah, I've been really excited about helping people go through this transition and watching it happen and watching people catch up to things, that I think have been around for a while, or opportunities that have been around for a while, but they haven't really taken them because they've just been busy and kind of focused on other things. Yeah, I think that concept of connecting to the earth and creating safety for yourself and being able to like have this awareness of your own energy and how to take care of it is the thing that I'm most passionate about right now, more than ever.
So for people who are like, yes, this is my jam, I'm like so excited about this, like I agree with everything that you're saying, like where do people come and work with you? How do people find out more about the offerings that you have, and if they want to work with you, or if they just want to explore the concepts that you're laying out, where would they come and find you online?
Well, you could go to my website, which is starhealings with an S at the end.com. And you could find me on Instagram at clean.your.energy, or on Facebook at Myan Binder, which is my name, obviously. And, right now I'm not doing anything in person. So everything is online via Zoom or FaceTime or phone. And that's how I'm working. And I've always used all of those modes of communicating, but they're the only ways that I'm communicating with people right now. Well, and then of course this podcast.
coming to you from whatever your favorite podcast app is.
Right. Or telepathically. But I think, we're not there yet as a human race. We're not there yet where I can just telepathically communicate a session with someone. They would be able to communicate back. So, yeah.
I don't know. Your energy is pretty profound. I think that you'd probably be able to make that happen, if everyone was in agreement with it.
That's the thing. If everyone was in agreement with it, I mean, that could be like a whole podcast. Like if everyone was in agreement with this, then ...
Oh, I love it. That's part 2. You're going to have to come back on the show and we're going to have to do that episode.
But now I'm like, what will I say? I can't wait. It's so exciting. Yeah.
Well, I will be sure to put all those links in the show notes on my blog so that people can click out to them and find you in the world.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, Myan, thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom, because I just sort of feel like your experiences, like I said, through your travels and just in being a sensitive person in the world, like you have so much to share, and I'm glad that you were willing to share with my listeners, my audience.
Thank you for having me. I just love talking to you, and it's been really fun, and I think you've asked really beautiful, really thoughtful questions, and I really appreciate that.
Well, and I appreciate the kitties who have been contributing as well.
They actually can't hear you because I have these ear things in, but they know. Galaxy is the one that's sitting here, by the way. So she's just been in communication with you the whole time. She's really really into your energy. You can tell. She wouldn't be sitting here if she wasn't just curled up on the computer.
Thanks to Galaxy as well, then.
She says you're welcome.
So, if you couldn't tell, Myan is someone I just think the world of. I so value her wisdom and sense of playfulness and her enormous capacity to hold space for others. She's an incredible psychic and an incredible animal communicator. Seriously, if you or anyone you know in your life is looking for some insight into why an animal companion may be behaving in a certain way, An animal communication session with Myan is sure to provide a profound amount of clarity. You can find out more about all the different types of sessions she offers at starhealings.com. Be sure to also follow her on Instagram at clean.your.energy. For links to those sites, you can check the show notes on my blog, queenofpeaches.com. As always, thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.